So that takes us to the DDB. So Councilmember Albritton sits on the DDB. Councilmember Bunker has expressed interest, as have I. Any comments, council members?
Would you like to have the public comment first or us?
Well, I wanted to have discussion first so that they know what they're commenting upon,
Okay.
but we can go ahead and have the public comment first. We do have people in the audience that I think want to speak to this item. So if you filled out a card, would you please come forward and state your name and make certain that our city clerk has your card? And I would ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, my name is Paris Morphopoulos. I'm a resident of Clearwater and the chairman of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board. I'm here to respectfully and urgently.
Hold on, Paris. Can the council members hear this?
Yes.
Yes.
He could.
Maybe come a little bit closer. Is he speaking through the earphones or the mic in the computer?
Oh,
So,
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I can.
Yes.
I can.
okay,
Yeah.
Yes.
go ahead and restart the clock.
Okay. I'm here to respectfully but urgently ask you to disapprove Mr. Bunker's request to serve as an ex officio member of the DDB. I've spent over 30 years creating what I can in the way of a successful retail environment in downtown Clearwater. I have volunteered my time and energy to serve on the Downtown Development Board since 2009. My colleagues and I have accomplished some significant progress during my tenure on the board. Where has Mr. Bunker been and what has he been up to? He now says he wants to make a positive contribution to the downtown. Can he really be believed? Do you really think he intends to work in good faith with us? I quote, Scientologists are dangerous, intolerant lunatics, and any attempt to expose their ridiculous cult is to be encouraged. Mark Bunker. Okay, do you really think that we're going to work well together and that he's coming here in good faith? What is his true intention? It was not unexpected that he would request this position, considering Mr. Bunker's only interest in downtown is to further his anti-Scientology agenda and to enable his continuing harassment of Scientologists. I anticipated that one of his first actions would be to volunteer to serve on a board with multiple Scientologists. For my position as an elected official and a taxpayer of the city, I would strongly advise and caution the City Council to disapprove this appointment, as it creates some potential legal jeopardy. His anti-Scientology ravings have been consistent over the more than 20 years I have known him. His harassment of me goes back to the 1990s. He apparently is seeking to continue it. As I briefed the DDB several months ago, he harassed and videotaped me and my staff multiple times, baiting us and then posting content on the internet. Even more unforgivable, he stalked and attempted to intimidate my young daughter, alone and a minor at the time. Beginning in September 2019, he regularly attended DDB meetings and, in violation of his injunction, attempted to harass me and other Scientologists on the board with his disgusting and vile comments. Mr. Bunker is a professional bigot. Bigotry has been his main source of income for the past 2 decades. This is what he does for a living. You've seen the rants of his videos, and you can see the response that I made at a meeting in October if you go onto the website of the DDB. He has been harassing me for over 20 years. Some have suggested we now need to be reasonable and let him have a chance to show that he can participate on the board in good faith. There's no evidence whatsoever that he's capable of this or has any intention of doing so. It's inconceivable to me that, knowing these facts, the City Council would approve such an appointment and place him in proximity to myself. The work of the DDB simply could not proceed in the very disruptive and antagonistic presence of this individual. I'll complete my sentence. We could take action as a board and remove him if we are forced to, but there's no ordinance that requires us to have an ex officio member. So I just need to know where I stand. I would like
Thank you.
the city council
Thank
to
you.
make a decision whether to tolerate.
We'll make a decision tonight.
We will see what that decision is. Thank you.
Next. You're getting a clean set of earphones for everybody.
Oh, I see.
Please state your name, and I
Hi.
ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Raymond Casano. I live at Station Square Condominiums, downtown Clearwater. I've been here since 1984. I want to also protest any involvement of Mr. Bunker being on the Downtown Development Board, which I am a member. And I've been here since 1984, and I have seen what he has done, the protests he has committed, the chaos that he has done downtown, and I just don't want that anymore. I am a licensed real estate broker, and per Florida Statute 475, if I was to say anything against a religion, sex, creed, race, anything, I would be sued profusely by the state of Florida, and I would lose my license immediately. I feel there shouldn't be any less put on him to do the same thing. He claims that he is not confrontational and that he's really not anti-Scientology. I have a video I'd like to play. Is that okay?
As long
Can
as
someone
it
help me?
stays within the 3 minutes.
Well, I'm going to give my time, and then the next person may be able to continue.
Have you gotten time from someone else? There's a form that allows you to take their time. Or they can play the video.
They can play the
during
video,
their
right? Yes.
How long is the video?
It's a few minutes.
It's not going to show everybody.
Okay. I'm being told by our techies that it will not show onto the TV.
I can put the volume for you, and that's
So who can see this?
Nobody's going to be able to see it on TV. If there's audio that can be picked up, then you'll be able to see the audio. I mean, hear the audio.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, Councilmember Hamilton.
can Mr. Casano just give us a synopsis of what the video says? Because I think we all get the gist of it, but he can give us a synopsis of what it is.
He may be forced to do that, but I'd prefer just to hear it, just because
Okay.
then there's no ambiguity about what happened. But
Well, I certainly can
no
get you.
volume.
I can get you
No
a
volume.
copy of it to see later, whatever. But the video shows Mr. Bunker cursing and vehemently getting in the way of Scientologists, saying lies, protesting. We do a lot of non-Scientology events at the Fort Harrison, and an Indian group was coming out, and walked through very rudely. This is a public sidewalk. These people had no idea what was going on. It's very bad public relations for the city of Clearwater. It's been years. Before he got the injunction, this was tremendously, like on a weekly basis, very strong corners, yelling, screaming. It's just not good for downtown. As a downtown development board member, I want to boom downtown. We can't do this with this going on. Then when he got the injunction, you'll see in the video that he went to Chicago, California, other cities where there's Scientology, and did the same thing because he couldn't do it in the state of Florida. And that's what this video shows. And I can get copies of this video to any one of you if you want to see it. But it's quite ugly. It's very reprehensible. It offends me greatly as a citizen. I got here in 1984. I've been here as long as most people. And this man should not be on the same committee with us. There's 4 Scientologists on the board. This guy's vehemently and strongly anti-Scientology. He makes no bones about it. And he says that. And so if you want a DDB meeting where we're arguing with him all the time, it's just not going to be good for the city or the public relations of the city. Again, if any of you want a copy of this video, I can get it for you.
Thank you, Mr. Casano. You can forward a copy to any one of us and all of us will get it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Thank you.
Good evening. You can state your name for the record.
My name is Shahab Imrani. I live right down the street at Clearwater and Water's Edge. I've been in, can you hear me? Right.
You're fine.
I've been a resident for only a couple of years out here. I recently got elected as a downtown development board and a board member. I have not met this gentleman. I happened to see his video recently. I was shocked to see someone to basically denigrate a religion like that, especially someone who's ran as his platform to get into the council member. I don't know what you guys do. If I was born and raised as a Jew, and if someone started screaming at me as a Jew, you're dirty, you're a liar, or the things this gentleman said on the video, that it's his recording, by the way, I would be shocked. If I did that with any of my employees, which I have over 120 of them, they're all professionals, many of them are attorneys and CPAs, I would get sued into Stone Age and lose my company. So having a city official to come in and start to get into downtown who doesn't even live in downtown Clearwater and express interest to be sitting on that board to help downtown, I just do not understand it. I strongly urge you not to include him in that group. Thank you very much.
Next.
Do I need this?
You don't want.
I'm just talking. Hi. Good evening. I'm Keenan Kinsel and a DDB board member. We moved our company to Clearwater from near Chicago over 15 years ago to be closer to family and our church. Our company has operated on Cleveland Street since we moved here. First, I'd like to commend the mayor, the city manager, city staff, and all the charities, churches, and healthcare providers for how well you've all taken care of everyone during this pandemic. As we know, the rearview mirror is easily viewed with 20/20 vision. It's always easy to sit on the sidelines and be critical of others. Taking responsibility for the greater good is always a mixed bag of goods. For example, even though it was done under a lot of public criticism, the new bridge built a few years ago
exploded the beach's growth, and has provided a better traffic pattern for the downtown corridor, which is steadily filled with high-tech businesses, residences, restaurants, theaters, and more. It's a great overall decision. Our current board has a strong mixture of local talent with proven deep business and charitable involvement in the area, all with the similar goal of making downtown great again for us all. Mr. Bunker is a new city resident and council member who has a proven one-track agenda of religious intolerance, troublemaking, hatred, and bigotry towards our church. He sitting on our meetings would be more than unacceptable. In the 60s and 70s, I spent my youth near where Michael Jackson and his family lived on the south side of Chicago. Besides the massive amounts of racism that I personally witnessed, I knew a very nice family who moved into our town and shortly thereafter had a cross burned in their front yard. They moved away shortly thereafter. It simply was not safe. Having this bigot sit in at the DDB meetings would be similar to having David Duke sit in at an NAACP conference. Grotesque, unsafe, and intolerable. Combining him with Tracy's obvious agenda to create further animosity towards our church will certainly not help the downtown thrive. My hope is you are able to make the correct decision and not be swayed by what she might print in her extremely biased paper. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Do I need a thing? Nope. Hi,
Good evening.
I'm Steve Anderson. I'm the CEO of Autoloop, now Affinitive. We're in the building right one of the downtown towers here. I am in a building with Stu. Between the two of us, we probably drive a lot of the economy here in downtown and employment. And I wanted to also represent from the employer side, what I'm dealing with in downtown. To have picketing going on, to have antagonism against Scientologists as my clients walk down the street, my employees as I bring them to restaurants, and I hear them yelling at the kind of behavior that we've seen from this gentleman, right, in the past. We have no reason to believe that will change. I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and start yelling at people in the streets, but I hope he's not. But it is what he's bringing back to this community. And I think we are making some positive strides towards, working together as a group. The Scientologists need to mix well with, your council and the common citizens of Clearwater, and we just need to work as a group to make this a better place. And I think this is a bad move. Right or wrong, there's obviously a lot of contention. You've heard a lot of reports here. I think that, we're simply moving down the wrong path, and I'm worried. I've invested a lot in this community. I've invested a lot in downtown. I'm a big taxpayer. I intend to stay here and grow my company, and as Stu is growing his company. But as it becomes more of an uncomfortable environment, for my employees who aren't all Scientologists, actually the vast majority are not, it creates an uncomfortable environment for them. So let's just make this a safe environment. Let's figure out how to make this a safe environment. So I would protest this move. Love it if you were on that board. That'd be great. But that's all I really have to say. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Good evening, everyone. Most of you know me. My name is Stu Showerman. I am the founder of a local high-tech company. My address is 144 Willowdale Drive in Bel Air. We have about 750 employees in 2 downtown office towers. We're still hiring. We have 100 open positions. This is about the ex officio members of the DDB. As you may know, I have served on the DDB for 6 years. I was on the other side of these days. I rotated out in January. I know a little bit about what works in the DDB and what doesn't. as a local business owner, I have a vested interest in downtown, and I would like it to be a great place to live, to work, to have lunch, to go out for dinner, to shop. My employees are looking forward to this. They have indicated they would want that. The Downtown Development Board has in its charter to help foster a vibrant and flourishing downtown. The ex officio members of the DDB are city council members who have as their job to advise on the policy of the city. That's the kind of the hat they wear. While I was still a DDB board member, Mr. Mark Bunker appeared before us at that point as a citizen, and to me it was obvious that he was there to disrupt the proceedings and basically impede the progress of the DDB. You can see this for yourself, by the way, on the videos that are public on the Clearwater website. It now appears that Mr. Bunker, now he is elected as a city council member, he wants to be a DDB ex officio member. I think that that would be extremely counterproductive. It would impede the progress of helping downtown to redevelop. It is my opinion that having our mayor, Mr. Frank Hubbard, and Mr. David Albritton as ex officio board members would be highly productive, and I strongly recommend that scenario. Frankly, having Mr. Bunker as a DDB ex officio member would be a disaster. On a personal note, Mr. Bunker is using his freedom of speech to violate my constitutional right of freedom of religion. Thank you very much. I hope you guys make the right decision.
Good evening. My name is Brett Miller. I've lived here in Clearwater for 25 years, all of it downtown. As a former Army officer, I do a lot of work in the community as a veteran advocate. Mr. Horn, thank you for your service. Tonight, I would like to speak briefly on the subject of civil liberties in general and the Bill of Rights in particular. When I was commissioned into the Army as a young man, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. I thought the primary enemy that I had to worry about was the Soviet Union. We won the Cold War, and I went on with my life. I was naive enough to think that all Americans understood and believed the words in our founding documents. No way did I ever think that I'd have to defend someone's right to freely practice their religion in America. For too long in this community, that has been the case. Clearwater has just come through an election where several candidates targeted Scientologists as a community with derogatory comments to win votes. In any other city in America, these attacks would be viewed as what they are, an attack on civil liberties and First Amendment freedoms. It's time to move beyond these biases, snide comments, and hate speech. Honestly, any one of you on the dais would be offended, perhaps even outraged, by such actions directed at your person, your family, or your religion. To close, I think some perspective is helpful. Scientologists have been part of this community for 45 years. That's longer than Countryside has been part of the city of Clearwater. It's longer than Ruth Eckerd Hall has existed. It's longer than the Clearwater Marine Aquarium has been open to the public. It's longer than the Blue Jays have existed as a baseball team, and it's longer than the Bucks have been playing football. Truthfully, it's only a handful of zealots, self-appointed elites, and a struggling newspaper has created this situation in our city. I think Clearwater is poised to move beyond this situation, and I encourage you all to help lead that change. Mr. Mayor, you have a long-stated purpose to improve downtown. I think serving on the DDB with Mr. Albritton would be a great opportunity to continue that effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call. Okay. Council member questions or comments? Would you like me to speak or wait? That would be fine, Mr. Bunker.
Okay. I don't want to get into a tit and tat with any of the Scientologists who got up to speak. I'm happy to respond to.
Hold on, Mr. Bunker. We're not hearing you in council chambers for the audience.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
You need a sound check?
We've got it.
We're all fine?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, very good. I'm always happy to talk to any Scientologist anytime, anywhere. L. Ron Hubbard himself said, communication is the universal solvent. And I don't believe I'm this crazed, wild person that they depict me as. I am curious to see the video that they want to show. I suggest they put it on the internet, as I have done with all of my video that I've shot since 1999, covering the world of Scientology. And I'm not attacking Scientologists in these videos or in person. What I talk about are some of the structures and controls built into organized Scientology that primarily target Scientologists themselves, like the practice of disconnection, where families are split apart, or the Rehabilitation Project Force, where Sea Org members who sign a billion-year contract to work lifetime after lifetime for Scientology for 16 hours a day, 5 or 6 or 7 days a week, for about $50 a week. And then if they want to leave, they sometimes get socked with a freeloader's debt, where they have to pay back tens of thousands of dollars for the room and board they got living in cramped quarters at the Hacienda Gardens complex, which I'm very happy that Chief Slaughter was able to go in and do an inspection. Now, Scientology may consider that harassment. That I was worried about the Sea Org members in the midst of this COVID-19, after having seen busloads of them tightly packed into a flag bus coming out over to the Superpower building. You know, this is a real health threat. And when you've got 10 or more people living in one apartment in cramped quarters, this is a serious health threat to them and the community as a whole. So I just asked for some sort of check to make sure that the living conditions are safe for them. And I don't consider that harassment. What I'm trying to do in office is actually to, I didn't know we had a limit. Okay.
No, I'm not.
Sorry.
What I would like to stick to, though, Mr. Bunker, is talking about the actual DDB and your service on that particular board, why you think you're qualified, and why we think we can still be productive if you are on that board.
Sure.
Well, I'd like to open up some communication later. That's fine.
Okay. I would like to start a communication. And Scientology is a huge aspect of why the downtown has not been able to develop since they came to town in 1975. It's important, like the very first time I came to the meeting, if you want to watch that video of the Downtown Development Board, I asked a very simple question. You have a majority now of Scientologists on the board. If Scientology is the problem, are Scientologists the answer? And I think the answer should be yes. They should be trying to work to make a better situation for everyone downtown so they feel comfortable coming downtown. Right now, we've got a situation where almost all the remaining property of downtown was purchased with cash, $113 million worth of property that hasn't been developed largely.
Yeah,
And
to turn the lights on in
we
here.
have no idea what's going to happen with those properties. If we're going to spend $64 million on Imagine Clearwater, we have to have some answers. And I'm not being confrontational about this. I think that people of Clearwater agree with me that we need to have a different, more logical approach and not be afraid to say the word Scientology. I'm not taking Scientology away from anyone. I'm not taking L. Ron Hubbard away. All I'm saying is there are serious issues that we need to address. And just opening up a line of communication on the board, I think will be helpful. Mr. Casano and Mr. Imrani and other Scientologists will come before the board, before the council here to have projects approved. And I guarantee you, I will give them a fair hearing and have no problem approving a project if it makes sense. So I don't think I will have problems working with Scientology. And for them to fearmonger, and as Mr. Morphopoulos said at the second board hearing I spoke at, he had a prepared, written, multi-page statement comparing me to Hitler. So this is the type of over-the-top rhetoric that comes from Scientology, and it's not necessary, and it's not constructive. That's not what I'm doing. I haven't gone out and been shouting and cursing I've been back here in town since 2013. There haven't been any pickets. And I'm not leading the people of Clearwater to the Fort Harrison with pitchforks and torches. I'm doing what the people of Clearwater are interested in doing, finding out what the heck is going on and try to do something about it. That's why I was elected. The Scientologists tried to run somebody against me to stop me from being elected, but the people of Clearwater spoke. And again, I'm not attacking anyone. I want to be constructive.
Thank you, Councilmember Bunker. Other council members?
I guess I can jump in here.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Are you hearing me all right?
Yes.
Okay. This issue has put the council in a position, the way I view it, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. Either way we go, we're going to get vilified one way or the other. That doesn't really bother me necessarily. But I think where we have some issues is, and I don't want to get, what is that?
I think the
Anybody else hearing
library is
that
burning
beep?
down, but go ahead.
Okay. I mean, not to nitpick to a degree, but Mr. Morphopoulos made the point that Mr. Bunker violated the injunction when he came to speak, stood at the podium and speak. Well, if we weren't dealing with a pandemic right now, we'd be sitting on the dais, and if Mr. Morphopoulos comes to the dais, he would be violating that same injunction. So I'm throwing that out. That doesn't matter. There hasn't been any, to my knowledge, speaking with our police chief and other people, there has not been any major disruption attached to this injunction for many, many years. Now, That being said, Councilmember Bunker just made the comment, that's what the people elected me for. I think Councilmember Bunker, and I'm not being critical, but you have to remember that you won an election with 27% of the vote. That means 73% of the people did not vote for you. So you don't have a mandate to move forward with personal agendas by any stretch of the imagination. Now, to the DDB in particular, we're talking about ex officio positions where we do not vote. The city council members do not have a vote. You
just close it,
are
Pat.
there to listen more than anything else, and if asked to give your position or to speak, then you do. So, like I said, now back to the damned if we do, damned if we don't. I am willing, and this is not going to make some people happy. I am willing to give Mr. Bunker the opportunity to sit on this board, and I would like to do the motion I will be making after everybody's had their chance to speak is for Mayor Hibbard and Mr. Bunker to be the two people on that board. And I know the mayor would be very effective. The mayor has the ability to control a lot of things, and I respect him greatly for that. But the caveat is, if we give Councilmember Bunker, if we vote him onto this board, if he gets on this board and is there strictly as a disruption and creating confusion, I will not hesitate at the next city council meeting after that happens to make a motion to replace him on that board. So I'm willing to give him the chance. And I think it's time, as we all say, it's time for everybody to come together, because we all want a good, vibrant downtown Clearwater. And we should all be pulling in the same direction. And I want to give Councilmember Bunker and my friends that are Scientologists on that DDB and people that I know, give everybody the chance to show that they are committed and believe that everybody has the ability to work together. So I'll stop at that.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamilton. Councilmember Albritton?
Yeah, I'd like to give just my perspective from being on the DDB, being a board member on the DDB for over 10 years. I was chairman for 8 years, and then I came back when I was elected to council to be an ex officio member. And the job as an ex officio is different than being a member of the board. I mean, we're there to just advise and to kind of any questions by the board to the city, we're there to help with that. But my perspective of the long time I was on the board, we've always had ex officios and board members that were very passionate about downtown and had given a lot of their time and effort to really come together and to try to promote downtown. You know, this is a DDB is, a lot of people don't know this, it's an elected board. The DDB area, all the property owners in the area pay an extra tax that goes back to promoting the downtown, and the elected people are the ones that are on the board that spend that money the best they can to promote and to build a successful, vibrant downtown. And usually everybody has all their heart in it, whether they're Scientologists or anybody else. They're there because they have a passion for it, and they really have a vision that they can really make our downtown, which is certainly has a lot of very exciting parts of it. You know, make that come into fruition and make it a very successful downtown. So I know Mr. Bunker's would like to come in and share some of his concerns. He was elected as a council member. I would almost say to him that he probably, if he has concerns, he would be probably better fitted for bringing those concerns as a councilman in the audience. He could always come to a DDB meeting, but to the ex officio, I think, would really needs to have a vision of a vibrant downtown and really needs to work and to get everybody together to work with that mission. With that said, I am fine. If Hoyt wants to make a motion, I will step down. I have served probably now about 14 years on DDB, and I'm still very passionate about downtown. But if the mayor I know is also passionate, and if, you know, I would certainly step down to give Mr. Bunker the, with Mayor Hibbard, to be the two ex officio members. And I kind of agree with what Mr. Hamilton said, that, if it does seem to be that Mr. Bunker is not pulling people together and moving things forward, the agenda being promoting downtown, and I would certainly think that he should be replaced at that time. But I'll listen to what everybody else says and go from there.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Beckman.
Well, it's a complex issue. I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective on it as a newly elected official, and one who did go out door to door for months and months and talk to residents about what their concerns were. And a majority of them are concerned about downtown, and usually in the same breath, they utter the word Scientology. And so it is an issue. I don't know that I'm not going to comment on whether or not it's Mr. Bunker's personal issue or using absolutes as his only issue. I don't believe that. But I do think we need to look at the fact that he was elected. It was a large part of his platform. And I think people want to see what he can do to improve downtown and to improve our relationship with the primary landowner in downtown. So I think he should be given the opportunity to do that. I have faith that he'll operate collaboratively and within legal parameters. And I think that it might really be best if he's there and can speak to those constituents who voted for him uh, based on that large part of his platform, and he can report back fully what are our legal parameters that we are operating in order to revitalize downtown. And I I do concur with Mr. Hamilton that it probably is wise to give Mr. Bunker a chance. I don't think we have any reason to doubt that he's going to conduct himself appropriately. I do realize that there will be tensions because of past behaviors on either side. I'm not going to make judgments about all that. I wasn't here for that. Um, and I respect the heartfelt sentiments of our residents who are Scientologists and spoke. But I would say let's give Mr. Bunker a chance. He will operate within the parameters of his function on that board if he is appointed to that board. And I think who better to report out the truth of how that board is operating and how they're working to revitalize downtown than him. There wouldn't be any suspicions to residents who have suspicions if, quote, their guy is down there reporting back, I guess. It's kind of my thoughts on that.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Beckman. Ms. Aiken, a couple questions. So officially, within our rules, there really weren't ex officio members on the DDB.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Our ordinance does not require ex officio or mention ex officio members. Ms. Call did some research into the minutes, and in 1987, council began having ex officio members, and at the same time, they had, I believe, two DDB members who were also to be ex officio to CRA. That practice fell off a long time ago, but we have still continued to appoint ex officio members to the DDB, but they are not required by ordinance.
So that's just been practice. It's not by ordinance.
Yes, sir. That is
Okay.
a practice.
Councilmember Hamilton was completely right. Nobody is going to be happy tonight. Any of the decisions that we make, we're going to have someone unhappy individually on the council, but also the fact that he was elected just 1 month ago. Councilmember Albritton said he's been on the DDB for 14 years. Most of that time was as a member of the DDB, not as an ex officio. Just so those out there in TV land understand, he's only been a council member for 2 years. I had also asked to be on the DDB. I have reservations, frankly, on both sides. I want all of our boards within the city to function. If they don't function, we need to find out why and fix it. At the same time, I am somewhat reluctant to not give a brand new council member the benefit of the doubt. We have to work on so many issues. Some people say we're scared of talking about Scientology. I can tell you I am not scared about talking about Scientology. I went around and talked to a lot of citizens and also did a very long questionnaire. Some people were dismayed with that questionnaire, but I did get a lot of feedback. I do not believe that we ought to try to not talk about what some people call the elephant in the room. Scientology is here in this community. I think we need to have a better relationship than we have in the past. It does not behoove us as a city to not have cooperation and to have an open dialogue, because I want the entire city to prosper. That means everybody has to come to the table and make contributions. It cannot be a one-sided relationship. So I am going to support Councilmember Bunker being on the DDB with the understanding that he is going to understand our role as ex officios, which are really liaisons between the DDB and the city and giving perspective. But I also plan to be sitting next to him with the vote of the rest of the council. So with that, are there any other comments or questions? I would entertain a motion on that.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we appoint yourself and Mr. Bunker as ex officio members to the DDB. And with all the other comments that have been made, those will be applied when and if necessary.
Second.
Do I have a second? I have a second from Councilmember Albritton. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none.
If I may.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. It passes unanimously.
Councilmember
Bunker.
Yes, I wanted to take a moment to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the council members for, however tentatively it might be, and reasonably so, for giving me a shot on the Downtown Development Board. I think the first achievement is just to show that we can sit in the room comfortably together. L. Ron Hubbard, in the Creed of Scientologists, said that all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter a right upon the opinions of others. Those are very noble words. He also, however, wrote that anyone who criticizes Scientology is a criminal. You just have to look up their crimes, and if you can't find them, create them or manufacture them, he said. And we're seeing Freedom Magazine, Scientology's publication, seemingly preparing an issue about me, or at least an article in the magazine. I just want to assure everyone, unlike the comments that you heard, I'm not Hitler. I'm actually kind of adorable. But also,
I'm not going to vote on that, Councilmember Bunker.
Well, give me time. And Tracy McManus and the Tampa Bay Times, they're not the reason people aren't coming downtown. So I'm glad we're having a chance to start discussing the topic, and I hope we have a very constructive relationship and success along the way. Thanks.